Hey everyone, welcome to the AdSkills Pro podcast. I'm your host, Kate Buck Jr., and I am here today with Brandon.breshears. Hi, Brandon.
Hi, Kate. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on the podcast.
I'm excited that you're here. So as you guys know, this podcast is where we share real-life case studies from top ad buyers. And today we are going to talk with Brandon about some of his best successes. And the best part is at the end, you guys can hear how you can reach out and actually work with him if that's something that you'd like to do. So I'd love to hear a little bit about about you first, Brandon. Like, what were you doing before you were a media buyer, and how did you get into like media buying or internet marketing in general?
Yeah, so I've been doing marketing for businesses that I've worked at and in my own business. So before doing media buying, I was a real estate investor, and then after that was a real estate agent and then a real estate broker. And so I really got started with media buying in that capacity of trying to drive leads and things for my business. And 2 years ago, actually just almost exactly 2 years ago though. And I had done that for about 6 years and it was going really well. But with being a real estate broker, you just had to drive all over. I live in Southern California. And so I was spending, hours and hours in traffic every day and it was killing me. And so I had been working a lot with a friend who had a software company in the veterinary industry, and I was doing marketing for that business and developed a podcast just to serve the niche of the veterinary industry, and found that veterinary practices were terrible at marketing their businesses. And so I was able to generate a lot of relationships and things from that podcast that I created, which then led to the ability to make the jump full-time, which I actually had to make the jump because my wife went into labor when really early. My son was born at 27 weeks. And so we were in the hospital for like 4 months and I just wasn't able to drive around. So if I didn't have the skill set of being able to do digital marketing, I would have just had my business unravel, because I have 2 other kids too that I had to take care of while my wife was in the hospital. So it was really fortunate that I had that, because it like forced me to make the jump full-time into doing media buying and digital marketing. So that's kind of how I got started with this in general. But
kind of a hidden blessing, or blessing in disguise, as some people would say, right? Like something that wasn't really good, but it really pushed you in the right direction.
Totally. Yep, definitely. And I actually got started with AdSkills. It was like it was almost 2 years ago, actually. Exactly. It was right after Thanksgiving of last year. I'm sorry, 2 years ago. So my wife was in the hospital and I had joined AdSkills because I knew I needed to level up some of my skills, specifically with Google. So, that was how I got involved with AdSkills, and I loved it. So
that's awesome. That leads me, that was my next question basically, is how has the community helped you? Like, how has it benefited your business? Obviously you've gotten some training there. And I know you're a member also of the AdSkills Pro League, the Slack group.
Yep. So right at that time, I think it was in September of 2018, there was, or not 2018, 2017, Facebook as an ad network started having so much volatility. And it was insane, was just completely unreliable. Remember it went down, the ad platform went down on Black Friday that year, I'm pretty sure, and just was extremely, just so much volatility. And then also that following January, or maybe it was the January before that, we lost like all of our organic reach with Facebook. And so it was just trying to build a business for clients on Facebook when we would get our ad accounts banned and, all kinds of craziness happening. And I was connected with Justin on Facebook, and he was talking about how Google was a lot more mature of a platform and wasn't experiencing these same growing pains that Facebook was. And I totally knew that was true because I had been doing AdWords on Google, several years ago for my real estate brokerage and things. And so the truth is I didn't know the ad network good enough to deliver results though. And that was one of the big things. I had taken Google's certification, which was not helpful except for knowing like where things were. But other than that, it was always difficult to actually get results and traction, just because the way that they teach is not helpful at all. It's good at spending money, and hopefully you get lucky. But that was kind of like the results that I'd had before. with AdWords. So it's like, okay, we'll try and make this work, but it's really competitive and it's expensive. And, okay, we tried it, didn't work. That was pretty much the results that we were having before. And so Facebook was at the time really cheap and super forgiving just because it was so cheap. And so even though I was getting great results in Facebook, like having all of the additional training specifically with like tracking and, all of the planning and stuff that goes into building out campaigns that are successful has been really, really helpful too. So it leveled up my Facebook ad buying skills, as well as just like ridiculously helpful with Google. So that's
brought some stability to the business, opened
absolutely.
a new revenue stream.
Yep.
And so, but you have a couple different sides of your business, right? You have your agency where you're focused on veterinary.
So yeah, I have
on the veterinary marketing, right?
Yeah, two sides. So I have a full stack agency that does like custom funnel builds and like email marketing follow-up systems, integration with automation and landing page builds, and then media buying along with that. So like pretty much everything involved, but that's custom work. And so it just is so much more time consuming. And so I have that business, which I only have a few of those clients. And then I have the, it's like a productized offering where I'll do AdWords for veterinary practices in conjunction with a company that is a software company that has it as one of their product offerings. So I have a friend that has a website company, and he has a ton of veterinary practices. So I met him through my podcast, and we've been talking for a long time about adding AdWords as a product that he would offer his clients. And so that's one of the things that we offer. So it's managed AdWords for veterinary practice, which is a really cool product. And we're seeing awesome results with that from.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
So that's kind of cool. We get to do local, and then I get to do kind of the bigger scale things too that are just on a typically nationwide scale, just primarily US.
Yeah, totally different thought process when you're only marketing to that smaller circumference versus getting to open it up, even nationwide, or when you have digital stuff that you can sell.
Definitely.
Global. So it's fun. It's good. It's cool that that kind of specialize in both. Sometimes you get isolated into one or the other when it's your specialty, because then you attract those same types of clients. But I love it about veterinary is that you can take what works from one client to another, and
yeah, exactly.
So what you might be working on and vice versa. So you're constantly optimizing processes kind of across the board, huh?
Exactly. And I think that was one of the biggest things that I learned from AdSkills was how John was teaching about how he sets up his campaigns and all of his spreadsheets for keyword tracking. And so just going through ad accounts and pulling data on like a huge number of practices all across the country, and being able to take that data and then apply it on new clients moving forward for what's working, because they're basically the same businesses, but they're not competitive to each other. And so just knowing which keywords and which phrase matches and which ads are working, and having all of that data so that we can provide really good results. And then also the systems that they provided in the training too were very helpful, because it would be like impossible for me to try to go out and scale this if I didn't have those systems and also the training that I could then take and like implement to assistants and things, So it's been really helpful.
Well, I'd love for you to take me behind the scenes on some of this stuff. Like I'd love to hear about, in whichever side of the business that you want to talk about, or maybe one from each, some of your brag-worthy campaigns. I'd like to hear a little behind the scenes of
Sure.
how you've been able to help one of these veterinary clients or some of your bigger
definitely
clients as well.
Yeah. So on the small side, like it's very typical that we either have AdWords that are managed by the practice, which is going to be like an AdWords Express account that's set up. And so we'll have no idea what keywords they're actually getting traffic for. They're not day parting their ads, and they'll typically have a really small budget for ads. And so they're not day parting ads so that they can actually get calls when they're open. They're not getting the right kinds of keywords and the right kinds of clients. And so I'm thinking like I have this one client that was spending actually a decent budget on their AdWords, and they were using web.com, and their average cost per click for their practice was like at 12 something per click, and they were spending a huge amount of money. And they're only open during very specific hours and had a very specific client. Not trying to give away too much because anyways, but
course.
We were able to drop them down from $12 per click to $2.30 per click. And at the same time, like, they were just broad match city of no real rhyme or reason to their campaigns, no good campaign structure. And so we've been able to effectively increase their business. They've been telling me it's been increasing 20% per month the last 6 months. So it's been pretty dang awesome. They have not done any other advertising changes at all. So that was really cool. Was one example. And then on the like nationwide side, was able to drop cost per lead from $11 to $3.73. That's specifically in Facebook's network though, which was really cool. And this client thought that they couldn't sell products automated. They thought they had to do it through webinars. And we've been using Google AdWords for very specific transactional phrase matches, so that we're able to drive sales. Right now we're at least 1, sometimes 2 sales per day, and it's a $400 info product that they're selling. So it's an extra solid bit of revenue just from that. And so our cost per acquisition for that is right around $17, but it's very niche. So we're spending, for every $17 that we're spending on those AdWords, we're making between $3.95 and $4.95 per sale, which is pretty dang awesome.
That doesn't suck.
Nope, it's really good. And it's cold traffic too, which is exciting. He didn't think we'd be able to do that with cold traffic. So it's—
And you said cool. Sell an information product?
Yeah, so it's a continuing education course. So it's an information product. It's all margin, which is cool. Yeah, so it's for a very specific niche. It's, that is in the veterinary industry also. So that's been really cool. Okay. Yeah, so it's for veterinarians, but it's to cold traffic on Google search, which is cool. So he'd only sold it prior in webinar format, which has also worked really well. But I had a feeling that people were searching for it, and they were, but it's not a huge volume, but still using those campaign structure that I learned from AdSkills and not doing broad matches and wasting money on stuff has been really cool too. So
awesome.
It's been really awesome. Very, very helpful.
Awesome, Brandon. I appreciate you sharing those with us. So if someone wants to reach out, what is the best way for them to contact you?
So the best way is probably just through email, which is my email is brandon.breshears@gmail.com. It's kind of the best way to reach me. Or I have a podcast if you're in the veterinary industry, or it's not very interesting if you're not in the veterinary industry, but it's the Veterinary Marketing Podcast. So I have a bunch of content up there. But email is definitely the best way to reach me for sure.
I'm sure we'll put that somewhere on the page, but I was going to ask you, because I can tell with the microphone and the headset and all of that you're a podcaster. So I was going to ask you, or some kind of content creator in that regard. So
yep.
So you have the Veterinary Marketing Podcast?
Yep, it's veterinarymarketingpodcast.com. Cool. And so I've been doing that for several years now. But
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here this afternoon. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate
Absolutely.
It. And I really appreciate AdSkills. It really has made a huge difference.
If you'd like to learn more about how to use paid traffic and analytics to scale your business, subscribe to the AdSkills channel so you'll be notified every time new content is released. If you'd like to learn more about the topic we just discussed, check out the related video we're posting right now.